the national stage, Republicans finally pick a leader for Speaker of the House. And in Arkansas, there's been a lot of political activity from Little Rock to China. I caught up with Arkansas Attorney General Tim Griffin for a conversation. Always good to visit with you, sir.
Glad to be back.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Like you've been running. You look kind of fit, like you're in good shape, getting in good shape.
I just love food too much. I've got a love affair with food.
It's that campaigning around Arkansas.
Now
it's a lot of catfish.
it's just I just love food. I just love food. It's a problem.
All right, let's talk about a very serious issue. A little over a week ago, you helped host a human trafficking summit in the state of Arkansas. Tell me what came out of that summit. What were some takeaways for you?
Yeah, so some people may think that human trafficking is a problem for the coast, California, New York, maybe international, maybe big cities, but it's right here in Arkansas. And even before I took office, this was a discussion that we were having about, I had been approached by some people about the issue, and I started to dig into it, and we drafted some legislation working with Charlene Fight and Jimmy Gazaway and Missy Irvin and Ben Gilmore. And we got some of that stuff passed ultimately, but I really dug into it. And what I saw is it's everywhere, particularly where there are big arteries like I-40 and I-30. So there were two goals of this conference. I think we achieved both. Number one, we wanted it open to the public. We wanted to include, of course, law enforcement and victim services and all that, but we wanted it open to the public because the first thing we wanted to do is explain to people what is human trafficking, and we wanted to raise awareness.
You had over 1,000 people.
We had 1,500 people, and I believe that was the biggest event our office has ever held on anything. And we really pushed media, social media, et cetera, to raise awareness. We achieved that. A lot of people, if you just ask them what's human trafficking, you get all sorts of different answers. So we worked really hard to educate people so they could go back to their communities and be a catalyst for awareness. So the second thing we wanted to do is equip. So raise awareness and equip. Equip people with the phone numbers and the avenues that they need in case they see something that looks suspicious. We were catering not only to law enforcement, as I said, but hoteliers, restaurant owners, people that own convenience stores and truck stops, because they're in a position to see a lot of people moving off the interstates. And if you don't know what you're looking for, you don't know that you might be seeing human trafficking. So we equipped people and we gave them numbers because we had heard stories. I've seen this, didn't know what it was until now, or I've tried to call this number and I didn't know who to call. So we tried to do all of that, and I set up something called STOP, which is a statewide tactical operations partnership. What does that mean? It's not a feel-good group of 100 different people. It's a very, very tight-knit law enforcement focused group that is going to meet periodically with my investigators and share information, Marshal Service, FBI, etc. So we're in the early stages. They're doing great things. The FBI's got a great group of people working on this in Northwest Arkansas, but it's an all hands on deck thing, state police, highway police. Anyway, it was a wonderful event, wonderful event.
All right, you also are in a press conference with the governor on, I guess, the first part of a new state law that is basically prohibits the Chinese government or an entity related to the Chinese government from owning
Chinese foreign national
land in Arkansas. Tell me a little bit about that, and are there others on the target list?
Yeah, so agricultural land in that particular instance. I want to remind people, some people might, watching the news, watching cable news, they might say, well, this China stuff is of recent interest to everyday Americans. But let me tell you, this has been on the military's radar for decades. I've been in the military for 27 years. I think the public is probably 15 years behind where my concerns have been. This is not some anti-foreign investment, deal because it's a different country, whatever. Look, the federal government has something called CFIUS. And CFIUS is a federal group, oversight group in Washington that reviews foreign investment. And they do it for national security reasons. I want to remind people that we had prosecutions in this state for theft of seed technology.
Right.
We had, in the late 90s, a congressional select committee led by Chris Cox. It used to be the SEC commissioner, and they were looking at China's theft of dual-use technologies, where they come in and they get civilian technology that can be also used for military.
And
so this is on our. This is a big deal.
This is to control agriculture and to
have
have some sort of ability to make sure that we're keeping domestic control.
Yeah. Well, you can have foreign ownership, but there are certain countries that can't. Here's the bottom line: China's not our friend. They are a trading partner, and we're going to do business with them, and that's fine. But they're not our friend. And we need to always understand that they are much better than we are at playing the long game. Yeah. So when I see people say, well, there's no evidence they're doing anything right now on this farmland, the Chinese, there's a book called 100-Year Marathon. The Chinese think in 100-year increments. No one in the U.S. is going to be told by the Chinese what they're going to do with that land. So I think this is strategically smart. What we've done is we've said there's a bill passed into law this year that says you got 2 years to divest. They were on our list. Yeah. We notified them.
Are any of the cryptocurrency groups that are, those crypto mining groups that are starting to get a lot of play in rural Arkansas, are any of those Chinese owned? And will that come into play?
Let me just say that we're looking into all of that. We do. I will also say, and I'm going to work with the legislature on this, the laws currently do not give my office the reach that I wish we had. With regard, for example, if it's not agricultural land, it's not covered by the law that I referenced. If it's rented, it's not owned.
Right.
So you've got all these distinctions. I'll just say this: there's a lot of discussion about Chinese involvement in these, and let's just say that I'm investigating all that.
All right. I got about a minute or two left here. I want to get your take on the drama in Congress from the last 3 weeks. Not having a speaker, you used to be in Congress, so you're quite aware of all the controversy that's been up there. I mean, what do you think this has done long-term in terms of the reputation of Congress and Republicans in general? Yeah,
look, it hasn't been helpful. But I'd like to say to my fellow voters and fellow conservatives and fellow Arkansans, there are all kinds of lessons here. If you want certain sorts of purity test in politics, where someone's got to agree with you 100% or 90% or whatever, this is the outcome of that. You've got to have people who work well with others.
Are you advocating compromise?
Well, look, I will say this. Our Constitution was based on compromise.
Yes.
The Senate and the House, the fact that the senators are elected for 6 years and there's 2 for every state, and the House is 2 years and they represent a district, that was a critical compromise.
Right.
Here's the deal. Matt Gaetz was not there when I was there, but by all accounts, this guy's a jerk. And by all accounts, a lot of this attack on McCarthy, and I was McCarthy, one of his assistant whips. I know him well, and I was Scalise's deputy, one of his deputy whips. So by all accounts, Gaetz had a personal disagreement because he wasn't invited to a party or something.
Yep.
And because one person could blow up the whole thing.
Yep.
So I would just say sometimes it's best to support people who can win a broader base than supporting people that agree with me the most. A lot of times I'll see people that agree with me 100%, and I say, but I won't support them because I know they can't win the ultimate fight, which is elections. If you can't win elections, you're irrelevant.
All right. He's Attorney General Tim Griffin. Thanks for being here
this
morning. I appreciate you. Get back on that running circuit there.
Thank you.
All right. That's Arkansas Attorney General Tim Griffin. You can catch our full interview at talkbusiness.net.